joining me in this video. I'm finally done with version 4 of the Great Awakening Guide, and in this video, we're going to talk all about it. The biggest change is the cover. As you can see right here, you got current cover versus old cover. And I'll tell you about why I made that change as well as all the other changes that I made in the guide. It took me a long time to get this one rolling. Like you and like most people in the world, there's a lot going on right now, and I think people are let's just put it this way. There's a lot more on people's plates now in the crazy times in the world, preparing or making sure that they're good in case some new bullshit goes down, like went down in 2020, or black swans. What's the list of that Klaus Schwab talks about? Black swans, cyber attacks, other pandemics, all sorts of things. Like on top of our general everyday to day work and living our lives, it seems like people have to prepare for the weirdest things ever that generally, historically, our mothers and fathers and grandmothers and grandfathers didn't really have to prepare for, or didn't really have to worry about, although that could be argued that there were other things going on back then as well. But in this video, I want to talk with you a little bit about why it took so long to get version 4 out of the Great Awakening Guide. By the way, you can get this at greatawakeningguide.com. You'll be rerouted to my website, which I'll chat about that in a moment. In fact, I'll tell you about that now so I don't forget. So greatawakeningguide.com, you'll be able to download the guide. You can also view it for free. It's always free. It's always been free, but you can view it if you're on a laptop. If you're on a cell phone, you probably will have to download it first, depending on what type of software you've got on your phone. You can even access the links in the view portal on your laptop. View the PDF. One of the reasons this took so long, and maybe you're seeing this in your own life, and depending on what kind of digital services or any kind of services you have, one of the reasons it took so long is, like I said, there's a lot of things going on right now. Companies appear to be everyone's looking for ways to make more money, make more revenue. And one of the things that's happened is my hosting provider is now going to start charging what appear to be astronomical rates for anything over like 5 or 10 websites, where prior my hosting provider was free for unlimited domains. And now all of a sudden, midway changing the game, as companies do, they're now charging a lot more, and I have to have all my domains cleaned up, which is kind of a nice thing. It's going to make my life a whole lot simpler. I'm going to have a bunch of domains cleaned up by the time September comes around. So I've been doing that. And if you do anything online, you know that that's not always the easy thing to do. But it needs to be done nonetheless. And it's going to be a blessing in disguise, because I'm really simplifying and bringing everything back to my own website, gmarkphillips.com. In fact, when you go to greatawakeningguide.com, you'll be rerouted back to gmarkphillips.com. And that's, again, part of my effort to simplify everything moving forward, simplify my life. And we all get caught up in things we think we need, multiple websites, multiple domains built around all of our different products. And that is not always the case. That is not always the case. By the way, if you're in the internet game and you're thinking of starting an internet game, think long and hard about how you build your presence online, whether you build one website or multiple websites. I'm now of the mindset, and other people, mentors of mine, have also told me this. It's better to build one site and drive a whole bunch of traffic to that site and build out all of your different landing pages, etc., on that site, than manage like 5 to 10 different websites. It's just incredibly time consuming, especially if you're a solopreneur like I am. So think long and hard about how you build out. So that's the backstory. Changes in businesses are trying to get more money in any way they can. I'm simplifying. A number of other things are going on. And so version 4 took a long time. Let me tell you about some of the changes of version 4. Let's start with the cover. I'm super thrilled about the cover. The reason I like this cover is because as I look at the events unfolding in the world and the things that are going down, it is obvious to me. It's obvious to me there are biblical things going on, appear to be biblical things going on. I'm not even a biblical person historically. I knew very little about the Bible and or events of the Bible, very, very little until 2021, really. And I started to sense evil things happening in our world, and I'm like, this is weird. It's weird. It correlated with what little I knew about the Bible, and also my own perception of the world. We're intuitive. All of us are intuitive to a degree, and we can kind of pick up on vibes that are going down. And I definitely got an evil vibe from the what times in 2020 to 2024, and I still do. And as a person who is learning to honor himself as I go on my journey, I'm like, yeah, that's a real thing, and I'm going to honor that and work with that. And so I did. And so this speaks to that. The lion theme has Christ implications, has biblical implications. The what is it? The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. The C.S. Lewis. There are meanings and symbology there, and that is one of the reasons that I chose that. I also chose it because I do feel this captures the essence of what's happening. Like people are waking up. I'm one of them. I'm waking up. I think people are waking up to the level, whatever level they were at. I think they're more awake than they were. It's exciting. I've seen it in my own life. I've seen it in the lives of people close to me who are clearly awakening from where they were in 2020. I'm clearly more awake and aware than I was in 2020. I'm not saying I know everything, but I am saying that I have a deeper understanding about the world in which I live, and that is largely due to the information in the Great Awakening Guide. Documentaries, movies, books, articles, all of the resources that I have picked up on my journey and people have shared with me, and they also share in the comment section below my social media at gmarkphillips. I capture all those and put them in there. Also, what's in here is what's always been in here from the get-go is like the how many is there? There's like 40. No, there's 31. There's 31 action steps that you can take in order to be prepared for what's coming. Who knows what's coming, right? This grew out of people commenting on my post saying, all right, we know something fishy's up. What do we do about it? And so this is my response. And like I say, there's 31 things. Like, number one is give up bread circuses. Number two, form cooperative alliances. Number three, exercise discernment. Number 10, trust your intuition. Like I said earlier, I'm trusting myself to degrees that I have never, ever imagined that I would. Let's jump to the very back. The last one is 31, wake up, right? It's a constant. I think the world puts people into a state of sleepiness. I think that's the spell that this world in which we live, of who runs this world, I think that's the spell that the world wants us to be under. Just go to sleep while all sorts of bullshit goes off around you. I'm not down with it anymore, right? I remember when I was contemplating watching Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s The Real Anthony Fauci Part 2, and I was like, wow, I don't want to watch that. I mean, I've got other things to do. I know what's up. I know that, those guys are bad guys. I stay away from them. I don't trust them. But then I watched it and I came away and I was like, Mark, you learned so much. There's things that I learned that I'm glad that I learned, subtle aspects and nuances and information that I am very glad that I learned to have on my journey. Maybe you feel the same way if you watch that Part 2, that I wouldn't have got had I not watched it. And so, I mean, you do how you will, but acquiring knowledge and information about characters in our world and events and governments and stuff like that is valuable no matter how we slice it. Knowledge is power. That's why I went back and forth. It's why it's right here. Knowledge is power. On some of the versions, on some of the covers I have, humanity is waking up, but it is about knowledge is power, because if you don't, if you know better, you're going to do better. If you have information about these corporations and companies and who they are and what they've done in the past, you get a pretty good idea, very good idea about what they're going to do now and what they're going to do in the future. Leopards don't change their spots, right? How they were is how they are and how they're going to be. Generally, what a person did in the past is a pretty good indicator of what a person's going to do in the future. What a company did in the past is a pretty good indicator of what they're going to do right now, today, and in the future. And this is why it's mind-boggling to me that people don't want to understand history, or don't put energy into understanding history, because everything's there in history, right? You can predict the future pretty well by looking and studying history. That's my experience. But let's talk about this. So the cover, the lion image, definitely has Christian symbology there. Some of the things that I've added, there's a lot added to the Israel-Gaza section. Documentaries like Tantura and Gaza Fights for Freedom, Abby Martin, and the Occupation of the American Mind. That's a fantastic documentary. It's available on Rumble. There's so many added to the guide this time. Most of them do center around Israel, because obviously the implications for all of humanity with what's going on there are pretty profound and pretty significant. And that's where the bulk of the resources were added. I didn't add any new action steps. Like I say, 31 is in version 3 and 31 is in version 4. What else did I add and change about it? Minor grammar and stuff like that changed, but overall, most of the components were resources added to that Israel section. And I'm already working on version number 5. And let me just foreshadow some of the things that are going to be coming on the line in version 5. I'm going to include a section that has bullet points or lists of all the ways that corporations and or our government, not corporations, really our government has lied to us and misled us and hurt us, quite frankly, in the past. Things like Tuskegee, things like radiation experiments, St. Louis. There was something one to do with San Francisco or San Diego. I want to say San Francisco, where they were spraying stuff in the Bay Area down there. Weapons of mass destruction. There were no weapons of mass destruction, but there are now 200,000 to 600,000 unalived Iraqi civilians. That's horrific. In fact, Abby Martin talks about this in one of her recent videos on how to avoid WW3, that because of post 9/11 wars, there are 4.5 million people now unalived. That's bullshit. In places like Yemen, Syria, Iraq, Libya, Afghanistan, 4.5 million people. And I look at people that still trust in the GOV, and I'm like, are you a fucking firing up here? Is your brain working? But then again, I don't get too much on them, because I didn't know that. Who knows that? No one going to come on the news and say, hey, post 9/11 wars, 4.5 million people are done. It's complete and total bullshit. And then the gov turns around to the next hand and in the next sentence and says, hey, you know what? We really love you and we care about you and we want to keep you healthy. And we made this medicine with our colleagues in the pharma industry. It's total bullshit. It's totally crazy. When you really look at it and see it for what it is, I don't think anyone can not see it. I don't think anyone can be cool with the status quo moving forward. It's so horrific. It's so blatant in your face. It's just wild. It's absolutely wild. So there are the big changes. Go pick it up. Version 4, The Great Awakening Guide, greatawakeningguide.com. I'm super excited to share it with you. Like I said, I hope version number 5 doesn't take as long because I really want to put together that list, almost like a lawyer listing the points and building a character reference for the gov. Like, this is who you're listening to. This is who you're trusting with your health and well-being. I think it's going to be very, very powerful and impactful to people who still may be on the fence or still on like Team Gov. If there are any people out there, I know there's a lot of people been sharing a lot of truth, exposing a lot of lies and deception in our world. I guess people out there could still be like, I'm 100% down with the Gov. The reality is, and I'll end with this, I don't think it's outlandish to be skeptical of governments. I can't imagine anyone questioning another person going, you know what? Do you know what they've done in the past? What Mao did, what Pol Pot did, what Stalin did, what our own government has done? Like, do you know what those people have done in the past with all of these things? You might want to just at least double check or get a second or third opinion. I mean, I don't know. That's my 2 cents. I could be, a little more skeptical. I'm probably a little more skeptical than the average bear because I want to know. I want to know what they've done. I want to know who they are. I want to dive into these things. Some people don't want to know. And some people are also under a deep slumber. I used to be in that deep slumber where it wouldn't even cross my mind that they would be up to funny business. Now the de facto is, they've been up to funny business since the day they were born. They're probably up to it now. Again, leopards don't change their spots. There you go. greatawakeningguide.com, version 4 ready for you to download. It's totally free. Look for version 5 to be coming out sooner rather than later. By the way, if you haven't subscribed, I'd love to have you as a subscriber, not only here on my YouTube channel, but everywhere on social media at gmarkphillips.com. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you. And until next time, I wish you all the best health, wealth, and success. Bye-bye.